The weight of history settled upon the shoulders of Cardinal Luis Antonio Tagle. As he stood in the hallowed halls of the Vatican, he could feel the immense responsibility that came with his new role. He stood on the balcony of St. Peter's Basilica, the newly elected Pope, gazing out at the sea of faces below. The air was thick with anticipation and hope. A wave of cheers erupted from the throngs gathered below, their voices a symphony of joy and expectation. The crowd's energy was palpable, a testament to the significance of this moment. His election marked a seismic shift, a historic first that echoed far beyond the hallowed walls of the Vatican. It was a moment that would be remembered for generations to come. Pope Tagle, the first Asian pontiff, had assumed the mantle of leadership in a time of unprecedented challenges and possibilities. His unique perspective promised to bring fresh insights to the Church. The world watched with bated breath, their eyes fixed on the screens that broadcasted this historic event. From every corner of the globe, people tuned in, eager to witness the dawn of a new era. This was not merely a changing of the guard, but the dawning of a new era. An era filled with hope, renewal, and the promise of transformation. Pope Tagle, known for his fearless spirit and compassionate heart, had already sent shockwaves through the Church with his bold pronouncements and decisive actions. His words resonated deeply with those yearning for change. His papacy promised to be anything but ordinary. He was a leader, unafraid to challenge the status quo, to push boundaries and to inspire a new generation of believers. He was a man on a mission, a shepherd, determined to lead his flock into uncharted waters. His every step was filled with purpose and conviction. His gaze swept across the sea of faces, a kaleidoscope of nationalities and cultures, united in this moment of profound transition. Each face told a story, each pair of eyes held a dream. He understood the gravity of the task before him, the hopes and anxieties that rested on his shoulders. The weight of expectation was immense, but so was his resolve. Yet, in his eyes, one could detect a glimmer of unwavering faith, a quiet confidence that spoke volumes. It was a look that reassured and inspired. The journey ahead would be arduous, fraught with obstacles and resistance. The path was not an easy one, but it was a path he was ready to walk. But Pope Tagle was ready. He was prepared to face the challenges head-on with a heart full of courage and a mind full of wisdom. He was prepared to be the fearless leader the Church needed in this pivotal hour. His leadership would be a beacon of hope, guiding the faithful through the trials and triumphs that lay ahead. From the outset, Pope Tagle's papacy was marked by a series of bold actions that shook the Vatican to its core. His tenure began with a sense of urgency and a clear mandate for change, signaling a new era for the Church. He wasted no time in addressing long-standing issues that had plagued the Church for far too long. These were not just minor adjustments, but sweeping reforms aimed at revitalizing the very foundation of the institution. With unwavering resolve, he tackled controversial topics head-on, refusing to shy away from difficult conversations. His approach was both direct and compassionate, understanding that true healing required confronting painful truths. His approach was a stark departure from the cautious diplomacy that had characterized previous pontificates. Instead of maintaining the status quo, he sought to break down barriers and build bridges, fostering a culture of openness and dialogue. One of his first acts was to initiate a thorough review of Vatican finances. This was not merely an audit, but a comprehensive overhaul aimed at ensuring financial integrity and sustainability. He demanded transparency and accountability, vowing to root out any hint of corruption or mismanagement. This bold stance sent a clear message that there would be no tolerance for unethical behavior. This sent shockwaves through the Curia, the Church's governing body, where some had grown accustomed to operating in the shadows. The old guard was unsettled, but the faithful saw a glimmer of hope for genuine reform. His message was clear. The days of secrecy and privilege were over. He emphasized that the Church must be a beacon of light and integrity, reflecting the values it preached. He also called for a radical decentralization of power within the Church. This was a revolutionary idea aimed at making the Church more responsive and connected to its global congregation. He believed that decisions should be made closer to the people they affected, empowering local bishops and giving a greater voice to the laity. This was a move towards a more democratic and inclusive church. This move was met with resistance from some within the Vatican who feared a loss of their own influence. The centralization of power had long been a hallmark of the Church's governance, and this shift represented a significant change. But Pope Tagle was undeterred. He remained steadfast in his vision, understanding that true transformation required perseverance and courage. He saw this as essential for the Church's long-term health and vitality. His vision extended beyond immediate reforms to a future where the Church could thrive in a modern world. His vision was clear: a more inclusive, transparent and accountable Church, one that was truly a reflection of the people it served. He sought to create a community where every voice mattered and every individual felt valued. He understood that the Church could not afford to remain stagnant in a rapidly changing world. The challenges of the 21st century required a dynamic and forward-thinking approach. It needed to adapt, to evolve, to embrace the challenges of the 21st century while remaining true to its core values. This meant integrating modern technology and innovative practices into its operations. His fearless leadership was a beacon of hope for many, a sign that real change was finally possible. Pope Tagle's bold actions and bolder vision set a new course for the Church, one that promised a brighter, more inclusive future for all. Within the hallowed halls of the Vatican, a new chapter was unfolding, one that would send ripples across the world. The ancient walls, steeped in centuries of tradition, now bore witness to a transformative era. Pope Tagle's actions sparked a mixture of awe and apprehension. His every move was scrutinized, his every word dissected. To some, he was a beacon of hope, a harbinger of change. To others, he was a disruptor, challenging the very foundations of their faith. Whispers of both admiration and anxiety followed him through the corridors of power. The Vatican, a place of solemnity and reverence, buzzed with speculation and debate. The air was thick with anticipation as the faithful and the skeptical alike pondered the implications of his papacy. Traditionalists, long accustomed to the Church's rigid hierarchies, viewed his reforms with suspicion. They feared that his progressive ideas would erode the sanctity of age-old doctrines, leading to a dilution of the Church's core teachings. Fearing a dilution of doctrine and a departure from established norms, they voiced their concerns in hushed tones and public forums alike. The tension was palpable, a silent struggle between the old guard and the new. Progressive voices, however, were emboldened. They saw in Pope Tagle a kindred spirit, a leader who understood the need for the Church to evolve and engage with the complexities of the modern world. His vision resonated with those yearning for a more inclusive and compassionate Church. They saw in Pope Tagle a kindred spirit, a leader who understood the need for the Church to evolve and engage with the complexities of the modern world. His willingness to listen, to empathize, and to act made him a beloved figure among the younger generation and progressive thinkers. His willingness to address sensitive issues, from clericalism to the role of women in the Church, ignited passionate debates and rekindled hope for meaningful reform. His speeches, often poignant and thought-provoking, challenged the status quo and inspired many to dream of a more just and equitable Church. The reverberations of his papacy extended far beyond the confines of Rome. In bustling cities and quiet villages alike, the faithful watched with bated breath. The world was watching, and the stakes had never been higher. Across the globe, the Catholic faithful watched with a mixture of anticipation and uncertainty. The media buzzed with stories of his bold initiatives, and social media platforms were abuzz with discussions and debates. The world was engaged in a collective conversation about the future of the Church. His election had ignited a sense of pride and hope, particularly in his native Asia, where Christianity had long been a minority faith. In countries where Catholics often felt marginalized, his rise to the papacy was a powerful symbol of inclusion and representation. Many saw in him a champion for the marginalized, a voice for the voiceless. His outreach to the poor and disenfranchised resonated deeply, reinforcing the Church's mission of compassion and service. Yet, his progressive stance on social issues also drew criticism from some quarters. Conservative factions, wary of change, viewed his actions with skepticism and concern. Conservative Catholics, particularly in the West, expressed concerns about the direction he was taking the Church. They feared that his reforms might lead to a loss of identity and a compromise of core values. They accused him of pandering to secular values and undermining traditional teachings. The media, ever eager for controversy, amplified these voices, creating a narrative of conflict and division. The stage was set for a clash of ideologies, a battle for the very soul of the Catholic Church. As the world watched, the Vatican became a microcosm of the broader struggles facing society, a struggle between tradition and progress, between the old and the new. In the bustling heart of Asia, where tradition meets modernity, there exists a profound sense of community. It is here that we witness the unwavering spirit of those who tirelessly work to uplift the underprivileged. Their dedication is not just a duty, but a calling. Each act of kindness, no matter how small, creates ripples of hope. This is a story of compassion, resilience, and the unyielding belief that together we can make a difference. In the face of adversity, reform is born. Resistance becomes the catalyst for change, and through renewal, we find our strength. The journey is never easy, but it is always worthwhile. As we navigate through challenges, we are reminded that every setback is a setup for a comeback. Compassion is the heart of humanity. It is the legacy we leave behind, the mark that defines us. Through acts of kindness, big and small, we create ripples that touch lives far beyond our own. In a world often filled with turmoil, compassion is the light that guides us. The weight of the world can be overwhelming, but within it lies the promise of hope. Every challenge we face is an opportunity to rise, to show resilience, and to believe in a better tomorrow. Hope is not just a feeling. It is a force that drives us forward, even in the darkest times. As we look to the future, we are filled with questions. What lies ahead? The path is uncertain, but it is also full of possibilities. With courage and determination, we can shape a future that reflects our highest aspirations. The journey continues, and with it, the promise of new beginnings. Please subscribe to our channel History Documentary Hub for more insightful videos and intriguing content.